Hi, this is Lisa Sunan with Venture Valkyrie. I'm here today with Maria Ciambekos of HealthBox, and we're going to talk about HealthBox and the accelerator world. Maria, nice to have you here.
Great, thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up at HealthBox?
Sure. I've been in my background is I've been in healthcare my entire career, and most of my career I spent a lot of my career actually in big corporations and orphan businesses, building either taking an idea and creating a new business, or bringing in acquisition and growing it and commercializing businesses. And so I've always had a strong passion about commercialization and growing business, and I really felt that um, coming to HealthBox, I could actually work with entrepreneurs to really help them think through how to commercialize and scale the business. And in addition, continue to follow my passion in healthcare and trying to solve healthcare's biggest challenges.
That's great. So now you guys started out as one of the first healthcare accelerators 3 or 4 years ago, around the same time as some of the others started, Startup Health, Rock Health. But you've made some pretty big changes lately. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. We just announced starting in 2015, we actually changed our model. This was really based on, we've spent a lot of time in the marketplace. We've ran 12 accelerators, and we really were getting feedback from the entrepreneurs and from industry partners in terms of just their experience in accelerators, and also what the strategic partners were looking to see in terms of just versus seed stage versus early stage. And so we restructured our model where we are no longer giving equity in companies up front. We've also shortened the model. It's an 8-week model, and we no longer require companies to be in full-time in residence.
So most of the other accelerators have gone the opposite way, to longer programs, more equity, or definitely involved in investing in more significant ways. Why that change? What led you there?
I think what led us there was, again, just responding to the market and the needs. What we found from our strategic partners was that they wanted to see seed stage innovation, but they were also looking to see early stage innovation, things that are a little bit further along, that are working, that have some proof points that they can actually integrate and solve their problems with. And so what we found is that our existing model, really with a small version of capital, really wasn't enough to move the needle on some of the seed stage companies, and the upfront equity piece really precluded us from attracting some of the best early stage companies. And so we had to take a step back and be strategic and really about how are we going to attract the best entrepreneurs.
So as I understand it, the new model is open to both young companies, really early startups,
Right.
and also later stage companies that have a little more experience
It's more
behind
a
them.
seed and early stage.
Okay, not the
Right.
mid-stage companies,
Right.
not revenue stage
Right.
companies, or
Right. Well, they may have some revenue, they may have some proof points, but they may have 2 to 3 customers, 1 to 2 customers, and they're really looking about how do I take my business to the next level? How do I scale? And so we're really looking to think through how to help them commercialize and scale their business.
So what's the value proposition for them then?
The value proposition for them is that they can come in and get rapid access to a network, and in terms of help them really evaluate and really pressure test their business model. In addition to that, all the companies that come through our studio will be eligible for a potential investment program. So it's also in a vehicle that they can get rapid access to it and then have the potential upside of an investment.
Do the partners of HealthBox, I mean, you have many partners, right? Health plans and payers and providers of all types. Do they ever invest in the companies?
Yeah, it varies. Many of them in the past have, with our old model, invested in many of our micro funds. So we were very focused, regionally focused, and now with our new model, we're really getting more of a national footprint. So giving those strategic partners insight, not just what's going innovation in their local market, but also giving them insights into innovation going on more globally.
So without the equity side, which was part of the long-term business model originally, what is the business model for HealthBox?
The business model function? Is that, so we function is, again, we're still, we will have a central pool of capital to invest in the company's post-program. And then in addition to that, we also have a fund that we manage for in around healthcare. And in addition to that, we also have a side business called our Foundry business, in which we're really bringing our accelerator model inside hospitals. Hospitals have innovation within their organization that they're trying to identify and figure out, is there opportunity for them to commercialize that and find additional revenue streams for them as well.
Interesting. So they pay you a membership fee or a
It's more of like a
fee?
Consulting model.
I see.
And we come in and we really use our similar accelerator process in terms of helping them identify the idea, source the ideas within their organization, and then push them through a vetting process with, in terms of selecting the best ideas, and then really putting the clinicians through a process in terms of how to think about their business from a commercial perspective.
So how do you think about success? How do these companies that go through the program, how should they be measuring success? And if I called them and asked them, what did you think about the HealthBox experience? What did you get out of it?
Well, I think one is that many companies really have a hard time getting access to the industry rapidly in terms of really to test their ideas. So I think HealthBox provides that vehicle to happen rapidly. And as you know, dealing with a startup company, time is money. And if it takes you 12 months to get that meeting, it can, you're burning a lot of cash during the process. The second thing that we really try and do as a success of our companies is just, do they have revenue? Are they getting traction in the market? Is another success measure. And we have over 62% of our portfolio companies today generating revenue, which is a good measure for them as well.
So can you tell me a story about one of these companies and their experience? Is there one that stands out just in your mind at the moment?
Well, there's multiple. I mean, there's a couple stories in terms of really some organizations that came through the accelerator and learned a lot of information, helped them pivot their model and understand. We've got a couple of good companies out there. SwipeSense, I don't know if you know them. They're a hand hygiene company. They came through at a great technology, but really need to think through building out the solution. They were able to then add the software component, and now they have a robust solution for hand hygiene, and they're getting traction in the marketplace, raised another $1.8 million of capital. So
okay. So what was their big change was they went from being more of a product business to a software as a service type of a business?
Combination. The product would also, it was more of a hand hygiene business, and they also now have a software wrapped around it to really give them insights in terms of, it's not just, how do I track and report that my staff is actually utilizing the technology.
And have you been able to help them get customer traction?
Right, yeah, we've been help them to get customer traction, think through their business model, etc. And so now they're well on their way and doing great in the marketplace.
So what about the kind of companies that aren't really good for this?
I think the companies that aren't really good for just an accelerator in general is, one, companies that aren't open to feedback. I think when you're an entrepreneur and you're out there, I mean, it's important, you're in the weeds every day, and it's important when you get access to these mentors and access to a network that you really seriously take a step back and think through it and filter the feedback, but at least be open to it, I should say. So that's one of the big things. The second thing is that, accelerators aren't really targeted for companies that are more Series B. They're further along. They've got 25 plus customers, and they're just really trying to grow. It's not a vehicle for business development. They're past that point.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, I guess the later stage companies that are, I guess they're early stage companies, but they're not seed stage companies. Right. I mean, it's a really interesting question. I mean, is it, if somebody needs to come to you at that stage when they're starting to attract revenue, is that a failure on their part? I mean, is that because they're not good enough at selling on their own?
Well, no, I think they're an early stage company. It's not necessarily a failure. What we see is that sometimes you've got a great entrepreneur that has a great technology, but the challenge is they don't know how to effectively communicate the right message to the target audience and think through how to commercialize that. So I think that, it's not necessarily that they're bad. It's just maybe they may not have that core skill set that needs someone to help them think through how to effectively commercialize their business. And also, being in healthcare, it takes time. It takes time for these companies to build the proof points that they need to, prove to the providers that they can sign a check.
But if it takes time, which I agree with you, frankly, it takes a long time, how does a 6-week program make a difference for them then?
In terms of the 8-week program?
Or the 8-week program, pardon me.
I mean, I think the thing is that you're getting rapid access quickly within an 8-week period. In addition to that, it doesn't stop at 8 weeks, right? I mean, in terms of their participation with the formal program, it's 8 weeks, but you're really, going through that, you're really building the network. You have access with the mentors. And quite frankly, many of our companies are engaged and are friends with those mentors long beyond their HealthBox experience. And in addition to that, if we decide to invest in the company, then we're going to put them through a more rigorous year-long milestone process and engage them in the HealthBox, network, et cetera.
What is the deal flow like? I mean, I know for me in my own deal flow, it's pretty extensive, and the thing that I find frustrating is just the sort of repetitive nature of it. You see so many things that are the same over and over again. How do you experience that in your program? Must be even worse.
Yeah, I mean, You're right. I mean, I think that how many more patient engagement companies can you look at, right? And so I think it's really about how do we continue to come to events like this and really be more proactive in finding the best entrepreneurs, to be quite frank, and sift through the noise. I mean, we're helping our strategic partners and providers sift through the noise to find the best and brightest that they should be talking to.
Right.
And so we're out there talking to as many folks, trying to find the best companies as well.
So how do you deal with it when you've, along the way in HealthBox, you've had how many classes so far?
We've had 12.
All right, so 12 classes times 10 companies or whatever
Right.
it is. You're going to definitely get yet another diabetes monitoring company,
Right.
or probably another hand sanitation type of company or something like that. How do you deal with that? Can you take in a company that's a competitor, something you've done before, and what do you do when you run out of space on that?
Yeah, I mean, there are some competitors, but they're not, there's always something that differentiates them and makes them somewhat unique.
Mhm.
And in certain markets, sometimes you've got to work with a few companies to see which is the right one that's going to get the best traction in the market. So,
Can you give is there an example you can give around this, of companies that are in similar areas? And
I think that there's a lot of companies that are just in general and just in terms of looking at different applications for disease management, and some of them are using different techniques, be it using more of an enterprise approach, being inside a hospital. Some are looking outside. So it's just, there's some variability in terms of, I guess, approach, but ultimately they're going after some similar problems.
So you've recently done an interesting deal with Intermountain, working with them, I know, on the program itself, the
Sure.
studio, other types. And can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. We actually we have a relationship with Intermountain. Intermountain invested in a $35 million fund, which we're managing. And it's really part of their big push for innovation. And it's not just about external innovation, but it's also about internal innovation.
Mhm.
And so we're really helping them to build that culture of innovation and help them, capitalize on both internal and identify the best external innovation as well.
So if you, excluding HealthBox, and you look
Yeah.
around the world, and there's 130 or 150 healthcare accelerators in the world,
Right.
which is a stunning number. What do you think about that? Are there too many? Are there too few? Which ones work best?
It's saturated. I mean, if you think about it, the market is saturated, and I think that accelerators are going to continue to have to evolve, which is where we're evolving to differentiate themselves
Right.
in the marketplace. And so it'll be interesting to see, in the end, which ones will still be standing, right? I mean,
What do you think? Who do you like out there besides HealthBox?
well, I think in terms of just accelerators overall, I mean, I think that, you can't, Y Combinator is someone that's just been at the forefront, and you've got to applaud them just for what they've been able to do in the tech sector. In addition, I mean, they've had some huge successes with Airbnb and Dropbox, and plus it's nice to see it's run by a woman. So
Yeah,
that's a good thing to see.
I've noted that a lot of the tech accelerators have started moving into healthcare. Peter Thiel's accelerator just announced that they have a class of, I think, 8 or 10 healthcare companies.
Right.
Are you worried? Are they coming for you? Are they going to get the good companies?
We're not necessarily worried. I think that healthcare is a different animal. It's not a tech. It's in terms of to develop a good company in healthcare, it takes time, it takes proof points. I mean, regardless of the regulatory environment, et cetera, it's still quite challenging to build a successful healthcare, and you had to have the expertise and knowledge around you and access to the right network to help the entrepreneurs really think through how they're going to build a scalable business in healthcare.
So what about the corporate accelerators? Sprint announced yesterday their class of new companies for their accelerator. We've seen it at other places. Is that a good idea?
It is a good idea. I mean, I think the corporate accelerators obviously they've got some good operating rigor and things like that. And I think for them, it's really about how do they get exposure to their employees around innovation and how to think differently. I mean, I came in from big corporations like GE and stuff, and it's always in a big corporation, sometimes it's, you're quarter by quarter and you're thinking through like, well, how am I going to get this product out the door? And so for them, I think from a cultural perspective, to just have that window into innovation is a good thing.
Does it stick those companies in a box, though, that they're stuck, they're basically building for a company, or does it allow them to be broader in thought?
Well, I mean, most likely it could put them in a box, and just like anything else, you want to build for the market and you don't want to build for a company. And so I think that as they're going through that process, it's something that they need to think strategically about.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, I think, for companies. They certainly should be taking advantage of all those resources, but I can't imagine it doesn't create its own challenges for them when they try to branch out and sell to other customers in the world.
Yeah, no, it's like anything else. We always encourage our entrepreneurs to, speak to different types of hospitals, be it an academic, be it an IDN, even your local community hospital, because you have to understand different needs in the marketplace and how you're going to build the right product that can transcend across different stakeholders and different target segments.
Now, you guys have also done some international work as well, right?
Right.
And how is that different, or is it?
Well, we ran a pro accelerator in the UK. In addition to that, last year we actually did a partnership with Microsoft Ventures, and we ran an accelerator. We were the healthcare arm of them in Israel, in Tel Aviv.
Oh, wow.
So so that was a great experience. Fantastic innovation coming out of Tel Aviv.
Yeah, I can imagine Israel's known for its sort of innovative culture, its healthcare. Was the UK similar? The
UK was similar as well in terms of its attraction across Europe. So it's not just Israel, UK. We have a broader footprint across Europe. So there's some fantastic innovation going on overseas. And I think, as you look at Israel, I think one of the things is that they don't understand, they don't have a market potential, right? Israel's small, it's 8 million people. They don't have it there. And they're really looking to come to the U.S. And understand the U.S. market. So for us to be over there working side by side with the companies, it was just incredible value add for them. And an opportunity for us to work with some of the brightest entrepreneurs in the world.
Yeah. So do you ever bring European companies or foreign companies to the U.S. Programs?
Yeah, we're looking with our new model now that we're not, requiring folks to be, obviously for the international folks to come over, but we're really looking at continuing our presence in Tel Aviv and in the UK and looking at that as a potential sourcing mechanism for some local studios because they really want to get access to the U.S. market. And I think there's a win-win for both parties.
So with respect to entrepreneurs who are interested in accelerators, what should they be thinking about when they choose one?
Well, I think they should be choosing about what they're trying to accomplish in terms of, do they need access to more like a business school 101? Do they really want to, is it getting access to the industry rapidly? So really think through, and understanding just the equity and the cap structures, all that kind of stuff, and just thinking through what meets their needs. And I know that's, you're probably looking at me like, well, that makes sense. But I think that there's variability across them. And, are they willing to relocate? Are they want to stay local? I mean, there's a lot of factors in terms of where the entrepreneur and the company is in their business cycle and what best meets their needs.
So what do you tell them when they're looking at you? What is the biggest advantage that you're conveying compared to all the other programs out there?
I think for us,
people got to come to Chicago, and it's not that warm out here.
Well, they only need to fly in now.
I guess they can go to Salt Lake City.
But they only need to come in for the module. So we're out in Boston right now.
If you like snow, Boston's good.
We only for our 8-week program, you actually don't have to be in residence. So you only have to fly out every other week for a concentrated module. So it's in terms of that, it's for them if they're they're willing to travel. We've got 2 folks in our Boston studio right now coming from Oregon and San Francisco. So for us, it's really if you want to be in a program where with a bunch of folks who have expertise in scaling and building business in healthcare and getting you rapidly access to the right network and decision makers in healthcare, I think we can provide you a lot of value.
That's great. So what's your advice for the entrepreneurs who tend to utilize the programs excessively? I noticed there's a big trend for companies to hop from accelerator to accelerator. What do you think about that?
I think stop. I mean, I think that. Well, I mean, it's think strategically about what you want before that. I mean, I think that you had talked about early stage companies that may not have scaled. I mean, that may just be an issue. They've got a great technology, but haven't been effectively able to communicate the message broadly from a commercialization perspective. But, I think that, when we see someone that's third and they're flying their 4th, 5th accelerator, it's at a certain point, they're not getting the value out of it, and something's missing, whether they didn't sign up for the originally, they didn't, apply to the right ones, or it's just a matter of something's missing. And so that's an opportunity for them to take a step back and think, okay, well, what's the right next step for my business?
So what should we be seeing from you guys over the next year? What's new, and strategically where are you headed?
So we're obviously launching our new studio model, so you're going to see many of those coming. In addition to that, we're launching our Foundry project, getting more access and engagement with the providers in terms of looking at their internal innovation. You'll see a lot coming out of probably our Intermountain Fund, we hope. And in addition to that, we'll continue to keep our presence on a global level and keep our footprint in Tel Aviv and the UK.
And are there any particular types of partners you're looking to add to your mix?
At this point, we've got a strong group of strategic partners. We're always looking for more partners, as you know, and so we continue to want to get footprint in the marketplace with, obviously the providers themselves and payers and other folks that are really endpoint the users of the technology as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Bria, for being here today. Really appreciate it. Thank you for listening. This is Lisa Sunan from Venture Valkyrie, speaking from the Midwest Venture Conference.
Thank you.